So, Twitter is a pretty crazy place. If you spend just 10 minutes on there, you'll come across some of the most insane takes that you'll hear maybe once a decade in the real world. It's just a huge landfill of the worst opinions ever and people fighting over them. So, I know it's a pretty hefty statement to say I think I found the absolute worst Twitter thread, but I think I have. The person from whom we received this thread is Matt Walsh, a podcaster and blog writer and a host on the Daily Wire. In his bio, he refers to himself as a theocratic fascist. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try and unpack what that means. Just a little scroll through his page and you can get a pretty good sense of what he is. All of his recent tweets are complaints about men wearing dresses and the degradation of society and how gay men shouldn't be allowed to adopt children and the whining about how everyone nowadays are just a bunch of weaklings and so on. So yeah, he's just a standard reactionary. As a whole, I don't find him terribly remarkable or even interesting in any way. But this tweet we're going to look at is kind of fascinating. Yes, it's bad, but somehow in a way that supersedes the typical reactionary standard we could expect from him. It just has this weird, perplexing quality. Anyway, let's take a look at it now. The thing about paternity leave is there isn't much for dad to do when the baby is newborn, especially if mom is breastfeeding. His main role is to take care of mom as she recovers, but of course that doesn't apply to Buttigieg, so I'm not sure why he needs paternity leave at all. The thread continues. People are saying dad needs paternity leave for quote-unquote bonding time. Sure, a week or something is fine, but the baby isn't going to bond with dad until he's a little older. And we shouldn't be paying cabinet secretaries to stay home for 2 months for quote-unquote bonding time anyway. It goes on. You can still bond with your children while working. I'm very well bonded with all 4 of my kids, and I had no paternity leave for any of them. I don't even know where to begin with this. I see a lot of weird, stupid takes on Twitter every day, but this was just especially bleak. Like, why are we now saying that it's not important for fathers to be there for their newborn children? Is that going to be a position that we have to take seriously now? I guess the first thing that bothers me about this take is the assumption that dad doesn't have much to do when baby is born. Like, no, actually. Raising a kid should be an equal responsibility for both parents. It's kind of sad to say otherwise. Besides, I can think of like 100 things dad can do. Dad can change diapers, feed the baby with formula, handle basic chores like cooking and cleaning while mom deals with the baby, and of course, simply cuddle, hold, and bond with their new child. That's a lot of work, and absolutely none of it specifically requires mom only. So in the next part of the tweet, Mr. Walsh states that Buttigieg, who is gay I'm assuming, shouldn't have paternity leave at all because he's not married to a woman, as women are the only ones who could possibly feed a baby. This is quite possibly the most reductive take I've seen on any matter ever. Matt Walsh has somehow reduced the entirety of raising a child to simply the act of feeding the baby, and because men can't breastfeed, they therefore aren't needed. But the obvious fact is a father can still feed their baby with formula, as a great number of parents do, so this point is just automatically null. And of course, it goes without saying that raising a baby is infinitely more complex than just feeding it every so often. And even if this were somehow the case that mothers are the only necessary parent, wouldn't the father staying home simply to help the mother be a good enough reason to take a paternity leave? I think so anyway. Next, he states that men should only have around a week or so to bond with their children, and that children won't be capable of bonding with their fathers until they're much older. The way he puts bonding time in quotations is kind of funny, like the idea of bonding with a child is unfounded and made up or something. But more importantly, why does he assume that children can't bond with their fathers? Is there supposed to be some inherent disposition in babies that prevents them from connecting to male human beings? Does Matt Walsh actually think that the only way for fathers to bond with their children is when they're old enough to play catch in the yard or something? If there's some study that proves that fathers have an inherent inability to connect with their own children, then I'm sorry, I'm not aware of it, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. Speaking from my own experience, one of my earliest memories was when I was really little and I had trouble sleeping at night because I got scared or something. So my dad would hold me and walk through the dark house together. That's one of the earliest images in my life that I can recall. So no, I wholly reject this idea that fathers are somehow unable to bond with their children. What an absolutely ridiculous and repulsive thing to say. I can only imagine the reason Matt could be saying this is from his own experience, which is kind of sad if you think about it. Either he didn't connect with his own father growing up, or he hasn't with his own 4 children. Or both. And if that's the case, I think there's a pretty obvious reason for that. He thinks the role as a father to newborn children is to simply facilitate the needs of the mother. He thinks a dad to a newborn child is better off working instead of being with their baby. Like, yeah, Matt, if you don't spend time with your kids, they won't bond with you. It has nothing to do with fathers being males, but the amount of time you're willing to dedicate to your kids. This is a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? While this tweet was directed towards a government official, it's implied that it's morally wrong for any father, regardless of their position or job, to take time away from work for longer than a week. And if you do, your actions are lazy and condemnable. Now, if this was all this thread amounted to, I don't think I'd be making this video. But apparently this isn't just a Matt Walsh opinion, as many other conservative demagogues have spoken up in agreement with this anti-paternity leave take. Michael Knowles posted this in response to the thread, and Steven Crowder had this to say in a quote tweet. As a dad going through this right now, everything Matt Walsh has said is accurate. Paternity leave is for full disclosure, I provide 2 weeks paternity leave for my male employees. I just love how Steven Crowder just flat out calls all of his own employees for deciding to take a measly 2 weeks off to be with their newborn children. There's a kind of sick underlying belief behind all of this, isn't there? The unspoken statement being made here is that your work and your dedication to your company or corporation should be the ultimate importance in your life. Nothing, not even the birth of your own children, is worth taking your time away from working. And that is deeply twisted. And that is why I wanted to make this video. There are a lot of bad tweets out there, but this reveals something so demented about these conservative speakers. Matt Walsh, Steven Crowder, Michael Knowles, these guys constantly affirm their dedication to traditionalism and the virtue of family values. Isn't it kind of strange and concerning that the people that prop up the importance of family values are the same people that think fathers can't connect to their own children and they shouldn't take time off of work to spend with their newborn kids? Isn't that a little strange? Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I know this was a bit different than usual, but I hope you liked it. To be clear, I think Matt Walsh and his ilk are genuinely bad people that spread really bad ideas. But I don't want to get into the habit of making content that exists purely to mock people, and that wasn't the purpose of this video. I simply want to combat those bad ideas. So I tried to refrain from being too mean or insulting him too much or whatever. So with all of that said, please subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and see ya.